Hello, friends, family, passerbys, everyone. Welcome to Authenticity the Hard Way YouTube channel. I am your host, Asha Zalika, and first and foremost, I want to thank you for joining me. I don't take your time lightly. I know that you could be doing anything else or everything else, but you have decided to sit with me for a little bit, and I want to thank you. If you're new to the channel, Authenticity the Hard Way is all about the harsh experiences that cause us to evolve into the next higher version of ourselves. And that's what I do. I just share my experiences, raw, uncut, unfiltered, unedited. It's just me sharing. Got my tissue, got my water, got my journal this time. Because it's all natural. This is authentic. I am authentic. I may laugh uncontrollably and cry and babble, but this is all me. And I'm really kind of disturbed and then tickled at the same time because I have been trying to do this video for the last 20 minutes and something always happens. It's just been one thing after another. And since there is no editing, I don't know how to go back and do these. No, I just stopped and do it over. So here I go again. It was not my intention this morning when I got up to do a video. I do have something that is coming together in the back of my mind, but I didn't wake up with the intention to record today. And that's the thing. It's sometimes I will remember something and then, oh yeah, and I sit back and go through that experience and see how it has helped me grow. And then sometimes spirit just dives right in and starts talking to me. And that's how the inspiration comes. And that is what happened this morning. I've been going through a lot of heavy emotion lately, the last 4 or 5 months, especially with situations happening where there has been a lot of chaotic, traumatic uproars in my home. And because I understand, well, just because I understand the reasons why these explosions and volatile interactions have taken place does not negate from the fact that I have been hurt deeply by them. Arguments and arguments that bring up deeply seated trauma and heavy emotion. Back-to-back episodes of these clashes have taken place to the point where in a couple of my other videos, I actually, it got to the point where I considered checking myself into a mental facility because of the severity of those interactions. Not that I was going to hurt myself. I had no intentions of that. I've been healed from that. But because of the weight of it and the intensity of it, it made me question whether or not I would be able to process that on my own. And I did, because I'm never on my own. I always got spirit. Remember that. You're never alone. Never. So anyway, I was sitting this morning, and a side note is that I have been experiencing everything that Mother Gaia has been going through, all of the changes, energetic influxes, and solar activities, solar flares, and G234 storms and magnetic blah blah blah, all this scientific stuff that is going on with Earth at this current time has been hitting me. Man, tell you what, if you don't know about what's happening with Earth as a planet, I would encourage you to do some research. It's a lot going on. And if you are a highly sensitive person, HSP or empathic like me, and Earth empath that I've just learned about recently, if you are sensitive to energetic changes, then you are probably, or should be, experiencing a lot of it in your body, which is what's happening to me. And with the severity of the last, I think we're going on maybe 2.5 weeks now of the influx of stuff that has been hitting Earth, a lot of things have been coming up. A lot of emotional stuff has been coming up for me. Which is very interesting for me, because I had a very strong, I guess, a season of intense clarity a while back, and I did a video on it. I'm healed, because I woke up and I realized that I have been healed from so much. I could literally feel the healing, and now that I think about it, that may have been a moment where I time jumped, where I shifted timelines, and I'll be doing a video on that. But that now that I'm thinking back, and that moment, that experience, which was just a couple of months ago, there was so much clarity for me, with the realization that I have been healed from so much. And I just recently shifted timelines. I did a video about three back, a reel, Instagram reel, last week before. I don't know. Time is moving. So much has been healed within my mental and emotional body that I literally feel changed. However, with what I woke up into this morning was so heavy and so emotional. Not that I needed any healing, not that I was going through any healing. Okay, so what I'm saying is, it's like when you wash the dishes, you wash the dishes, you put them in the rack, they dry, and you let the water out of the sink. All of the grime and food stuff that has been washed from the dishes is now sitting at the bottom of the sink. That's where I am. It's the leftover stuff sitting heavy in my heart. A lot of exhaustion. And when I say exhaustion, it's physical in the sense that I'm just tired. Physically, I'm tired. I'm fatigued. But that is playing out in my body, because mentally and emotionally, at a soul level, I am exhausted. And I actually did ask Google if it's possible for a soul to be exhausted. And Google's response is yes. Our souls have incarnated over and over again, and the stuff that we go through can definitely exhaust us in a deep internal place. And that's where I am. I'm exhausted from all of the years of working so hard on myself. And this is a specific thing for those of us who have chosen to evolve, who have chosen to change, who have chosen to do the deep work necessary to change. It's necessary. I just had to stop and pause. My first time ever doing that. But for those of us who have chosen to take the journey of self-evolution, it's a lot deeper. It gets really deep. It's not like you get to one level and that's it. It's levels. It'll be levels until you leave here. And it's a choice. We will all evolve, but it is definitely a choice to become the next highest version of yourself possible, because you don't have to. You can stay where you are and continue living. Maybe you're content with what you have. You're content with your home the way it is. You're content with your relationships the way they are. You don't want to grow. You're fine with who you are. Bless you. But then there are those like myself. I know that there is more out there. I know that I see a version of myself that I want to be, where I'm shooting to get to, striving to get to. And I know that it's possible because it was given to me. It was brought to my attention by Spirit. There's a version of myself that I'm becoming. And in order to do that, everything comes under microscopic view. And I want it. It's not easy. It's not. It's not just going to happen. Like, I've spent years doing work on myself. Years. It actually started when I was 13 and I wanted a better body. It's taken years. A lot of shadow work, a lot of reading, a lot of studying, and evolving through the studies that I have done. As a co-pastor in the church, I learned about religion from my ex-husband and the family that I married into. That's where I met Christ and Spirit. Although Spirit had been speaking to me from a child, I did not know what that was. I didn't know. But I started working on myself 40 years ago. Roughly 40 years ago. And I'm currently now getting my bachelor's degree in metaphysical science, which is helping me further grow with knowledge, grow through the knowledge that I am gaining of metaphysical stuff beyond the physical realm. So yeah, I wanted to say that because, and it's a never, like I said, it won't stop unless you stop. Your evolution, your growth won't stop until you stop. The physical body doesn't stop going through changes until it's time for it to change, transition out of this physicality of the physical. Anyway, so I know that I have been healed from a lot of stuff. And what came to me this morning when I was sitting in the density of emotion, I was crying, and I there was nothing for me to pinpoint exactly what I was crying about. It's just this heaviness that I've been feeling, and the weariness of, it's probably really bad because I'm an Aries and because I am so goal oriented and so forward moving oriented. Feeling stuck in my life. Not that I am, and I am not complaining. I am very happy with where I am. But there's things, there's accomplishments that I want to fulfill, and I simply can't. There's three major areas: bodybuilding, my studies, getting my bachelor's, and writing my autobiography. These are the three most important things for me right now. And try as I may, and maneuver and reschedule, and for months now it's been the hardest thing for me to do, to maintain some type of forward motion in these three areas of my life, to the point where I got rid of the gym memberships. Like I just can't do it, so I'm not going to pay. That broke my heart. And it's the simplest things that I want to do, and I simply can't because of the dynamic in my home life. My energy, my focus, and my time has to be outsourced. I have the energy, the focus, and the time that I want to spend on my own projects. I can't because that energy, time, and focus has to go somewhere else. And I'm not complaining because I am fulfilling the roles that I am supposed to be fulfilling. I am being what I can be to help our days go smoothly, to help and ensure that I'm giving the care to my family that needs to be given. I'm not selfish. And maybe that's a part of my problem. Maybe I'm not selfish enough, but I just can't. I just can't. So I'm make myself available for whatever needs to be taken care of. So then I wake up like I did this morning, feeling unfulfilled. Writing and studying and working out fulfill me. And to not be able to do that in the slight, I even tried to work it out where 30 minutes studying and 30 minutes writing and 30 minutes of some type of workout just that a small amount of time, and it might go smoothly for a couple of days, and then wham, and something happens and it's knocked off. Even to the point where I wake up early anyway. I wake up 4. And to have my meditation and communion time, just to be able to sit with spirit, receive, channel, and receive what I need. Breath work. I do breath work and stretches in the bed just to get up, get myself ready to go out and be who I need to be. But it got so hectic that I literally just started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get my own time in, and then trying to figure out if I could squeeze in that 30 minutes before I had to open the door and go out and take care of stuff. And then that just got to be exhausting. So Spirit met me this morning in my tears and spoke with me. And I'm going to share this with y'all, and then I'm going to give you the background of what happened and how this communication with the Spirit, why it ended with the statement that it ended with. So, how do I want to do this? Okay, so back in 1994, maybe 95, somewhere around there, when I got saved and filled with the Holy Spirit, God started speaking to me. And he said very plainly for me to begin writing our communion time. With the intent that at some point, the scripture says that if you write the vision plainly so that he that reads it may run with it. So, writing things down, and God wanted me to record our communion and our conversations, because at some point, somewhere, all of this would come together and help those who would read it. And to give a chronological kind of event, chronologize the events of my life, so that at the end of my life I could go back, or anyone could go back and see the evolution, see the changes, read, get an understanding of just this person's experience in humanity, this soul's experience, or this spirit's experience in humanity. And so I did. And I have had, through all of the places that I have been, all of the times I've had to pack up and take off. And one thing that I always tried to keep with me was my journals. And I've lost so many down through the years. And whenever I would get settled, I don't care if it was just a little notepad or just papers that I had to staple together, I would always pick up and keep going. So that at this current time, I am on page 2165th day of communion. So for 2,165 days, I have been journaling. That's my morning. this with my coffee, my meditation. This is how I start my days. So back in about 95, and I started really reading scripture with the intent of learning, and I started in the Old Testament. And because I am a very visual learner, as I was going through the Old Testament and Exodus, God continually brought me back to my life's journey. Especially when the Israelites had fled from Pharaoh, and they walked across on dry land when Moses split the sea, and they walked across on dry land, and they were being chased by Pharaoh, and they got in the middle, and the water came down, and all of that. But the wilderness experience that the Israelites went through, being led by Moses, who was terrified, who was a murderer, who, was scared of his own shadow, as their leader. And that is the foundation of my relationship with God, with the Spirit, in the Old Testament, with the prophets, and my life mirroring their lives, especially in the wilderness experience. And God was continually told me that where I was at that point in my life, I was wandering around in the wilderness, trying to find myself, trying to understand me as what I have been called and chosen to be, the prophet, a teacher, a leader. So if you could say me being Moses, and wherever I went, whoever I was around, just kind of leading, trying to lead while being led, learning while teaching, that scenario. And it was wilderness wanderings. It was a lot of wilderness, a lot of darkness, a lot of emotional turmoil for years. And one thing that was promised to me, God promised me, is that He would never leave me or forsake me. And at one time when things got so bad, He reminded me of the Hebrew boys in the furnace, when they were thrown in the furnace. And God told me, He said, though the furnace will be heated 10 times hotter, I will never leave you. Stay the course. No matter how hot, no matter how hard, no matter how painful, stay the course. And He would always say, stay the course. And I know I didn't have no course. I was just doing the next best thing that I could. That was the course for years. A lot of loss and pain. But with each of those losses and each pain and each time it got hotter, I learned more about myself. I learned that I was very toxic. I learned that I was emotionally unstable, mentally unstable. What's that word I want? That I had attachment issues. I learned that there was a little girl inside of me who was still looking for a father. I learned that I had desperate need of validation and acceptance from other people. I needed that to feel worthy. In essence, I learned that I had no self-esteem. I had no self-respect. I didn't have these things because I didn't know myself. Wandering around in the wilderness of life, of self, of having no sense of self, being abused and molested, not knowing me at all, but following God, following Spirit, believing Jesus. The Trinity is all I had. And I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going, and the wilderness got darker and darker, and the furnace got hotter and higher, hotter and hotter. But I never gave up. I would go 10 steps forward and fall back 20, but I would still keep going. And at one point where I started seeing the light, things kind of started clearing up for me. God told me, spoke to me, and said that you are reaching your promised land. Don't give up. Just because it looks like you see light at the end of the tunnel, don't give up. You keep that same energy. You keep pressing forward. And I did. And my son was murdered. And I had a son immediately after. And I was homeless. And that began the homeless journey that I was on. And then reunited with my ex-husband, tried to fix our past and tried to build some type of future, and it didn't work. And so there I was, off running again. But at each one of these harsh experiences, Spirit will continually tap me and say, you're getting closer to your promised land. And in the Bible, the promised land was that land flowing with milk and honey, that land that was theirs, who was the Israelites, what God had set apart for them. But they had to get through the wilderness. They had to learn obedience. They had to learn patience. They had to learn trust to get there. Whew. And I tell you, it's a journey. It's a journey. And about 4 years ago, 4.5, I had a vision. And I was on a boat. I think I told it in one of my other videos, but I was in this boat that was raggedy. The fact that this thing was still floating was amazing, but I saw it, and it just made it. I mean, it was held together by hope and will. It made it to the shore. This is the vision that I had, and I saw myself getting off of this boat. And as I got off and I started walking, there was just this wall of greenery, just beautiful forest, bright greens, dark greens, greens I had never seen before. It was just beautiful. And I wanted to go and walk through it. It was just so beautiful. And Spirit, God, spoke to me and said, you've reached your promised land. You've reached it. And in awe, and I was crying, and I turned around and the boat, and I was like, oh no, wait, I have to go back. I have to get my children. And I started running back to the boat, and it disintegrated right before my eyes. And I broke down, and I was crying, and I said, but what about my children? And God said, where you're going, they cannot go. This is your promised land. This is where you've been trying to get to. And I started in the vision, I started walking through all this beautiful greenery, and I could smell it and everything. And just on the other side, I had walked a while, just on the other side, I came out into beautiful land. The sun was beating on the sand, and it was kind of sparkling, and it was amazing. And God said, you've reached your promised land. Now you must possess the land. Just like in the Old Testament, where the Israelites had made it to the promised land. And God said that there are giants in the land, and you have to subdue the giants to possess your land. Exactly what he said to me. That although I had reached my promised land, that there are still giants that had to be fought, destroyed, in order for me to fully take possession of that land. Translating that vision into my life story, as I had finally gotten to a place of self-mastery, self-understanding, self-authentication, that I had come out of my years of wandering in darkness and come into the light of who I truly am. However, even though I have gotten to that place, there's still work to do. There's still giants in my land. And in order for me to fully enter into that promised place, I had to subdue those giants. Seek them out, find them, and destroy them. Wage war against the mental and emotional baggage that was still holding me captive. The thoughts, the emotions, the attachments, the false beliefs, the faulty paradigms, the false impressions or beliefs that I had about myself. It was still work to do. And I did. I dug in even deeper. I started learning. This is when I really dug into the shadow work. And so here I am. Here I am now. I've got a home. And getting a home and not being homeless and reuniting with my children, all that came after I got to this certain point of self-actualization, understanding me. And now here I am this morning, after having gone through some intense work. The intense work coming from intense experiences that have caused me to have to look at that dirt in the sink left from the clean dishes. I hope you're understanding that. So a lot of the healing that has taken place, there's residue in the sink of my soul. That's good. There's residue in the sink of my soul. And that's what I was sitting in and feeling this morning. But please understand, not sitting in this, oh, woe is me, no, but sitting there like, I've been healed, but there's still stuff lingering. Stuff that can't be fixed. I'm not sitting in a place of fixing anything. I'm not sitting in a place of trying to figure anything out. It's just acknowledgement that there is this heaviness. And that all it required was my attention to recognize that it's there. This is what Spirit spoke to me. Dearly beloved, just sit with yourself. Sit with your emotions. What are you feeling? And I'm feeling exhaustion, a deep sense of weariness from all of the chasing and striving that I've been doing. I feel like I want to dump my life in a huge wheelbarrow and toss it all over a cliff. So the striving and the chasing that I'm talking about, or that I was referencing here, is those three things that I was telling you about earlier: my writing, my studies, and my bodybuilding. Like striving to move forward in these areas of my life, and I simply just can't. No matter how hard I try, no matter what scheme or plan or schedule I try to incorporate, it just doesn't work. So I get up and I leave this space every morning. I leave this beautiful space of communion with Spirit and all of the celestial family that I have. I leave here and I walk out that door, and I'm in forward motion mode, like a hamster on a wheel. And I'm just running, or running on a treadmill, like you running, and you're really not going anywhere, but you are moving fakely forward. This is my my thing, right? Because I'm in Aries, and I'm defined by the stuff that I do. Like, my accomplishments make me feel good. They make me feel vital and alive, and to not be able to simply do the things that I want to do that make me feel good, it make me feel like I'm moving forward in some type of way. It weighs on me. And then I put, but there's a voice in the back of my mind that says, you can't stop now. It's actually a song. I think it's by Foreigner. You can't stop now. You've traveled too far to stop now. And I sat with that, and I was like, damn right. I've been traveling a very long time. I will be 54 in March. And I have been traveling all this time to get to this place where I just want to do simple things. The Aries mind in me is, you can't stop now. Gotta keep going. By all righteous means necessary, get this done. That's the achiever, the Aries mentality that I have. I'm working with it. It's still there. And Spirit spoke and said, this is true, saying that I can't stop now. I've traveled too far. It's true. No way I made it through all of this stuff back here and I'm just going to give up now. This is true, beloved. You can't stop now. But you can change the way you have been traveling. Cannot stop traveling. I cannot give up on this journey. But there's a way to chat that. But you can change the way you have been traveling. Just stop pushing and pulling. And when Spirit spoke that, I saw myself like this, with one arm going forward and one arm going back. With one hand, you've been pushing your way through. Pushing through the obstacles, through the pain, through the storms and chaos, through the weariness and exhaustion. While with the other hand, you've been pulling your goals, your dreams, people, and even burdens that have not even been your own. It's time to let it all go. It's time to set yourself free. The first part of your life was making it through the wilderness. Let the second part be about entering your promised land. It's time to enter in. There's a way that everything can be done. And it can't be through pushing and pulling. First of all, got to clean out the sink, right? Sit and process. Clean out the junk. Completely get rid of all the residue. Like, the way I have been going about living has got to change, and that can only change from within. I have reached a place that I have been longing for a very long time. Years. I'm finally here. Which means that I'm not pushing my way through the wilderness anymore. I'm not struggling through the wilderness. I'm at a clearing. I'm out of it. So the only way that I'm going to move forward and reach the state of peace and joy and bliss that I know that I can have in order to step into the land of milk and honey and receive all of that, is not by pushing my way through the wilderness like I had before. There's an easier way. There's a more fulfilling way. I just have to figure out what it is. First, I have to clear my eyes, or my eyes being the sink, right? Get all the debris from the past. Make sure it's all clear so I can see clearly, how can I go forward in the best possible way for myself? Asking for a break when I need a break. Being a lot easier on myself. Okay, if I didn't get to write today, I didn't get to write today. Or just dropped kind of bite-sized pieces of labor. Okay, so maybe I can't do 30 minutes of writing. Could I get 5? Maybe I didn't get to do a full 30 minutes of studying. I just get 15. There's a way to live our lives without the stress. A lot of times we cause our own stress because we're being so hard on ourselves, because we're trying to hold on to with the same, like I've been trying to hold on to bodybuilding and writing and studying with this intensity that at one point in my life it was necessary. It's not necessary now. It's not necessary now because I'm no longer struggling. I'm holding on and trying to keep these rigid, trying to create these rigid schedules for these three things that I want in my life. It's not necessary now. That was survival mode productivity. I'm not in survival mode anymore. I think that junk in the sink that I've been healed from is the residue of survival mode. I'll pour some bleach on that, get the water real hot, scrub it out of there, and wash it down the drain. Kill it. Not in survival mode anymore. And also what I hear Spirit saying now is that my life is not a race. Living is not a race. The finish line is death. We are not racing to death. Death is a transition. It's the end of this experience and transitioning into another. There has been a lot of death, not physical, but death, a lot of death within me. The death of the old self, the death of the old thoughts, the death of the old way of doing things. And my falter has been trying to hold on to the rigid, those things that got me here. But they can't, they're not viable here. And the push and pull got me here. It's what I needed to do, is what I had to do. But I'm in a different place now. Now I can make some decisions. Now my voice can be heard. Now I need to advocate for myself. For years, stuff was thrown on me and I had to make these decisions because of the crap and everything, but that's all over. I've made it out of the wilderness. I'm gonna come out the wilderness then. I need to give myself some grace. And what I'm seeing right now is that I think I'm really understanding that I am not surviving anymore. That I can step out into my life and live. Partake of the milk and honey. The milk and honey to me, it means like this peace. Not necessarily material stuff, but it's peace. And rest. I don't think I've ever rested. I think it's time I can rest. Give myself the space to, Asha, maybe today you just need to lay down and be still. Maybe today you just take the time and do your nails because it looked like you've been walking on them. Maybe just allow yourself to sit without an agenda, without a to-do list. And that's okay. It's okay to be still. It's okay to not be driven so hard anymore. It's okay to breathe. Nothing is chasing you anymore. This is I'm talking to myself. Darkness is not chasing me anymore. I have stepped into the light fully. I have conquered a lot of demons, or whatever you want to call them. When the war is over and you have peacetime, in peacetime, the soldiers are given time to rest. It's time to rest. Honey, listen. If you're here, if you've been living, it's been rough. At times you didn't know when, if you were going to make it or how you were going to make it. But you made it to some point. You're not done. As long as you live, you will be living. And that requires learning. That requires experiencing. That requires feeling. That requires changing. But there's a way to do it so that you do not cause yourself more harm than good. Take it easy. It's not a race. You're not on the clock for growth. You remember that story about the tortoise and the turtle and the rabbit? Tortoise and the hare. And the tortoise is just going like this and the hare, phew. Take the easy way. It's okay. It's okay to be gentle with yourself. It's okay to say, I just can't today. Case in point is that they now have mental health days that you can take off from work. And have that years ago. They did not. You just was sick. They call off sick. That's okay. Why am I sharing this with you? Because I feel like you have come through a lot and have not even given yourself time to acknowledge that. Time to rest from that. And it's okay. It is absolutely okay. Where I am right now, what Spirit reminded me of, what God prophesied to me a long time ago, is that I would reach my promised land. I'd have to go through the wilderness to get there, but that I would get there. And I'm here. And I'm telling you, you might be in the wilderness right now. You might be in that dark night of the soul. You might be so upside down in your own life that you cannot even figure out which way up is. Stay there and keep doing the work. If it's a dark season for you, stay there. Keep doing the work. Move forward as you can. If you are in the wilderness, stay there. You can't get out. Just keep going forward. Don't give up. Don't turn around. Sometimes you may be moving a lot faster, and sometimes you may just be at a snail pace, and sometimes you may just have to stand still. But if you keep going, you keep trying, eventually you'll come out to the sunlight, the promised land, your promised land. And it's going to hurt. You will get tired. You will get weary. You can stand tired. You can stand wearied. And when that's past, you keep going. I'm a witness. It can happen. And then when you get on the other side of that, remember, same thing that got you to the promised land will not be the same thing to put you in your promised land. You got to change up. You're not in survival mode anymore. You're not down here. You're up here. It's time to get rid of some stuff that no longer serves. Clean your sink out. Get rid of the grime and everything. And with a fresh perspective, you move forward with ease, with grace, with rest. Thank you for joining me. This really does help me, and I hope that it helps you as well. Thanks for sticking around. If it resonates with you, if this video resonates with you, please like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And if you can, share with someone else. We're in this together. We really are. Yeah. You're going to be all right. Come on out of survival mode. And let survival mode stay back there. And then you create and go into your promised land. Bye for now.